Hi, everyone. Welcome to class number 12. This is our final class here at the shared housing class for real estate investors. Right now, we're going to get started going over the steps to success. This is what I would personally recommend. And in my experience, this is how we have gone about setting up shared housing and new businesses. Number one would be to get a business tax identification number. And you would do that through legalzoom.com or your own attorney. And then in the last class, I had recommended an attorney firm, and that was Anderson Business Advisors, if you want to look into them online and see if that is something that you would like to move forward with. Now, with regard to LegalZoom, I just want to let you guys know they might have less expensive legal packages. However, it is my belief that you do get what you pay for when it comes to legal things. And so keep that in mind as you choose the attorney that you're going to work with to set up your business tax identification number. Also, an LLC, as we have discussed, my understanding is that that would be a company to own your property or own your assets. And then a nonprofit C Corp would be to operate a business or some kind of a mission. And so you'll need to decide if you want to have both of those. Now, once you have a tax identification number, then you'll want to set your business up on Google My Business, which you can do by having either G Suite or a Gmail that is set up for business purposes. And then going into the top right-hand corner and clicking on Google My Business and setting your business up that way. My understanding is that Google My Business does provide a $10,000 per month SEO grant. And remember that when you're doing anything online and you're speaking to the masses, that you do have to keep equal housing in mind. And so you may want to use a grant like that, not to advertise to men versus women or any other type of population where you would be excluding some type of population. But maybe you would use a grant like that to solicit donations from philanthropists who care about what you're doing. Now, there's also grants from TechSoup and Canva. We haven't talked about Canva yet, but we will talk about it on this class. So just give me a minute and then we'll jump into that. And then with regard to number two, once you have your business tax identification number, you can go online and search for reputable credit card companies. Generally speaking, Chase Bank and American Express, I am aware that they offer credit cards and other types of banking tools or lines of credit to businesses. They may or may not require that you have been established for a certain amount of time. I think on a nonprofit, because nobody actually owns a nonprofit, that's a charitable mission, they might view that differently and be inclined to give you between $20,000 and $30,000. Of course, they're assuming that you're going to use that money responsibly. Now, once you have a card or some means for $20,000 or $30,000, it's going to make your steps to success a lot easier. But do keep in mind that it is going to take some time to build relationships with social workers and grant funding and get your house full. So I wish somebody would have told me when I first started that this would have been a harder process than I thought that it would be, because it's a new niche and there is a blue ocean here for people who understand and set their own expectations properly. So that way you can account for your money appropriately for those turn times, right? Just keep that in mind. Some people will say, go and get a house and put a whole bunch of furniture in it, and then you're going to fill it up right away with at-risk population. And while there are millions and hundreds of thousands of people, and I would estimate probably close to 1 million people who need housing, they are generally working with social workers. And so, again, it's going to take some time for you to establish those relationships. During this time that you're establishing relationships, which is actually number 5, you should obtain your logo, set up your website, set up your Facebook page, set up your business email and your business phone line, and obtain your proper insurance. You can't really do those things unless you have a tax identification number, in my opinion, because you should be paying for those things with a business account to separate out your personal finances and your business finances. And normally you're going to have a business checking account through Chase Bank or another bank in your town that offers business checking accounts. And so your business credit card and your business bank account, which you're going to have to seed with your own cash probably, you first need a tax ID number and then those two things in order to now go and put everything in its proper name. When you look up the name of your company, and that's something that's really exciting to think about, Katie's House Foundation was very meaningful for me because of my story and growing up at Katie's house. And that, of course, saved my life. And you'll really need to find out what is your authentic story and pick a name that makes sense. There are a lot of things that end with the word foundation, and that does make sense from a marketing perspective that people would know that you are a foundation. And this all speaks to your logo and your domain, of course, and everything else that follows, because you probably want to have a professional email that says your first name at whatever your website is, especially when you're dealing with people who want to give you money. Again, they want to know that you're an honest, professional, licensed, and insured operator. When it comes to a business phone line, it is important for you, in my opinion, to have a separate number. And so I personally recommend grasshopper.com, and they will allow you to forward to your cell phone, and then you can turn it off and on and just set those up. It's pretty simple. And then you can also have different extensions. So it operates really nicely as a business phone, which forwards to your cell to hide your cell phone. Now, one thing that I did notice is that texting in and out of Grasshopper, to me, as long as you go through their app on your phone, it's fine. But if you want to make a call out, sometimes that's okay through the app, sometimes it's not. So it'll just depend on how you want to handle things. And if you want to be taking calls, or if your property manager is going to be fielding those kinds of calls, or if you want to give out your personal cell phone number, of course. So we talked about obtaining insurance. And real quick, before we jump into 5, I do want to discuss having a Facebook page for the purpose of being a part of Facebook groups. That's going to be really important to your success, in my opinion, because you can do targeted relationships for veterans or for aged out foster care or for people who are looking to get sober. And so you're not dealing in the equal housing opportunity area, you're dealing in the target populations. And so you're developing relationships faster through Facebook groups, very specifically Facebook groups. And there's lots of Facebook pages that your page can like on Facebook that will give you all kinds of very helpful information and connections, because you share the same mission in a lot of cases, but they might be raising money, or they might be placing people in houses whereas you, of course, are looking to fill the other gap, which is providing the house. Now, moving on to number 5, you probably already have houses. If not, that is okay. We will talk a little bit on this class about how you might go about getting houses, or at least an agreement, a purchase agreement if you wanted to make an offer on one. If you don't have any houses, that's okay. Start reading grants and networking and focus on building relationships with housing specialists and staying in touch with them every 1 to 2 weeks or monthly. I think monthly is probably better for them because they're really busy and 3 or 4 weeks goes by pretty fast. So you don't want to bug them. And if you're using something like Exact Contact or another type of mass email communication, then you can add those emails to your list, add those contacts, and you don't need a lot of them. You need good relationships where you can let them know that you are going to have a house ready in a few months once your funding is in. And ask them, do they have any grant agreements they can email you relative to their clients? And what that might look like is calling the VA hospital that's in your area, or Googling the Department of Human Health Services in your town, and going there is what I would suggest, because sometimes they don't pick up the phone. A lot of times they're very busy and it'll be hard to get through to them. You can, of course, and you probably can get their email online. But if you go there, you might want to just introduce yourself and let them know that you are putting together a house. You are looking at all kinds of grant opportunities because you really care about helping that particular population, and that you're in this for the long duration. You care about the people and the mission. And if they have any grant, maybe their grant is already spent for the year or allocated. But if they could email it over to you, then you can read through it and you can get yourself prepared to apply for the next round of funding. And they will completely understand that. They will appreciate that. And then, of course, once you are approved for their funding, then they will send people to your house or houses. And you may want to have a goal of having 10 houses a year, or 100 houses in your lifetime. And that is how you would really leave a substantial legacy, where you know that this business, it's unlike Airbnb, right? It's really not going to be impacted by affluent people traveling, as far as I know. We're going to have a lot of people probably continuing to come into the country who need shared housing. And with baby boomers, we're probably going to see a huge increase in people that are older needing shared housing, and they will have Social Security and disability income in all likelihood. At least we hope so, right? So number 6, make sure that you create your housing application, your SOP documents, and your payment systems. If you want to take Cash App, get yourself set up. It would be your business actually that gets set up for Cash App, because a lot of private payers, they do want to pay through Cash App. They might also pay on your website and with their credit card. And so a lot of times they are going to be underbanked individuals who might not have a banking account, and they might not have checks. But the government can pay things with checks. So just set up, those systems. Maybe you want to set up a PO box as well. With regard to number 7, at some point, you will need to acquire and set up your first house in a B class area. Please do not do a D class area, or I would even suggest not doing a C class area, because even though people will live there and everyone does need somewhere to live, you have to be mindful of the probation officers and the judge or social workers going into those neighborhoods, and also your property manager and your maintenance crew and the city workers, like the trash service. And if you are doing business in D class neighborhoods, you might find that the ability for your residents to find jobs or to be held accountable by their city partners is lacking. And they might have the ability to get a hold of drugs much more easily. So if you're able to pick up fix and flips or REOs in C and D class neighborhoods, I don't think shared housing is a good strategy for those particular houses. I think you really need to stay at a B class, and A class is probably going to be the most expensive houses, and you probably don't want to be in an A class neighborhood because the people who live in that neighborhood, might be a little bit concerned about having a next door neighbor with 10 people coming and going. So number 7 is really important. If you can stick to a B class area, please do so. The grant provider may want to do an inspection of one of your other rentals or the subject house before they refer people to you, and then you can bill them as agreed. And so what this looks like is that you're working on setting up your business, takes a little bit of time. You're working on developing these relationships and reading over grants, which takes a little bit of time. And then you, in all likelihood, if you have another long-term rental or short-term rental, you should probably show them that property and then say, if you guys have people that you want to send over now that I'm all set up, please, go ahead and let's get them coming this way, but it's not going to be this house on this street. I have another house 2 streets over, and it'll feel similar to this one. And then, of course, they know that you can have a clean, furnished place and that it doesn't smell like smoke or it's not dirty and things of that nature. Now, if they say they're going to send people to you, of course, you're going to need to quickly set up your other property and start letting those people in and collecting money. Now, number 8 would be to hire a licensed property manager and a house manager, live in or live out. And we're going to discuss how to go about getting a house manager in just a few minutes. A licensed property manager is going to be your normal, property manager, but it is a little bit different because it's not a short-term rental per se, not a midterm, not a long-term. It is a shared house. And so working with a licensed property manager who they may have their own lease agreements and they're not going to have a house agreement for a halfway house, you're going to need to give that to them. And also, if you're taking weekly payments from the people who live in the rooms or from government agencies, generally a licensed property manager is not going to be in receipt of those payments, and they're not handling your accounting anyway for the most part. They might have handled it for your long-term rentals. So it is a little bit different when you call some licensed property managers. They might say, I really care about the cause. I'm willing to show people the property, whether that's a resident or a judge or a social worker. And I'm willing to have them sign your your house agreement and facilitate maintenance calls to make sure that the house is being maintained, which a licensed property manager will normally have their own maintenance crew. And then they're willing to, have people move out and make sure maintenance crew moves out those people as far as any trash that they might leave behind. And so it's really just a matter of knowing what each person is doing. So that way you're not having to work inside of your business. And there's a division of labor between your licensed property manager, who's not a volunteer normally. They work in a capacity as a licensed and background and insured individual under a broker normally. Then you have someone who is accountable to your company as a house manager who also lives there. And then you have a maintenance person who, when they're on site, normally your licensed property manager is also on site. For number 9, you will need to train your house manager on how to welcome people and other standard operating procedures. If you are going to be a live out house manager for your first house, I think that's fine. If that house is for mature, older people on some kind of funding, I don't think that that will work for your peace of mind and for the people's recovery. If it is a recovery home and the people only have 21 days of sobriety, they will definitely need someone to live in there and make sure that they are not turning that home into what could be a drug den. Now, the government's not going to want to continue sending people your way if somebody goes over there and they're finding that people are using drugs and alcohol, or even if the first few people are not successful. Of course, that might not be to your own fault if people choose to use drugs and alcohol and relapse again. However, the government is kind of hoping that you have got that set up with somebody and that you're charging to make sure that those people don't relapse. So just keep that in mind. They're really putting that onus on you. So those first few people, whoever they are and whatever their backgrounds are, really make sure that you have put in place whatever it is that you need to in your memorandum of understanding of what you are responsible to do and what the referring party is responsible to do to ensure the resident's success. So number 10 would be to put your house on shelterregistry.com. I'm really excited to share this with you. This is going to be the linchpin for shared housing and social workers and government funding and end users. We're already seeing just in the last few days a pretty big interest in people signing up on Shelter Registry to search. They don't need to sign up to search. They need to actually sign up if they want to list their shared house. And so you would want to go here and put your shared house on shelterregistry.com. Also, you can go to oxfordvacancies.com and you can put your house there if you are affiliated with the Oxford House model. And that's just up to you guys if you would like to be affiliated with Oxford House, which is very different than the National Alliance of Recovery Residences. I want to make sure that you know when we're finishing out this class that there's lots of options for you. And I think that you should take a little bit of time to look at the funding that's available to set up a house, the money from the government, if you keep any drugs and alcohol out of that house. And so I think they don't allow for medically assisted treatment. If they ever make a change to that, you guys can let me know. And you can call the Oxford houses and talk to them. You know, you can go on oxfordvacancy.com and look up their phone numbers. You can actually call them and ask them what they're charging. Make friends with them. Make friends with everybody, just because you guys can refer business back and forth. And then if you put your houses on shelterregistry.com, you'll probably find that people are going to move between your houses because they might not ever fully recover or earn enough money. Even if they do recover from drugs, alcohol, and trauma, they may not earn enough money to buy their own house or lease their own place, in which case they'll probably have to stay within the continuum of care and halfway houses. So do your best to make friends and check out these different associations. Don't get stuck on NAR or Oxford. There are many funding opportunities for safe and healthy environments. You can get certifications as you go because you normally need to be operational in a working shelter or halfway house, sober house, etc., to get certified. For the National Alliance of Recovery Residences in Alabama, you need to be at 50% capacity, so 50% full, and be operating for 60 days in order for them to come and certify you as a NAR house. And just so you guys know, in Alabama, we didn't see that there would be a benefit as far as funding went. There's a lot of benefit in being part of the community, and there's amazing people, and their standards are really great. But when it came to funding, I haven't seen any funding applications yet for that state. You need to check every state to see if NAR is operating in your state or if Oxford is. And I really haven't seen funding specific to NAR yet. I hear that it's coming, so keep an eye out for it. And this is why I'm saying that if you need the funding, make sure that you are looking to line that up, even if it takes a little bit of time. Don't get stuck on any one thing because honestly, people need you to put together a house and start letting them in. And your job is to make sure that it's sustainable or better, of course, that you're able to make a good return with what you're doing and continue moving forward with getting additional houses and helping more people. So number 11, I would suggest that you operate your first house for 6 months. And then once you can stay full and have perfected your resident funnel, you know where the residents are coming from and who they are. So what population is that? Then you could start looking at getting additional houses. You'll want to, in tandem, have that monthly communication to your government partners, an email that just says, hey, our foundation is still here. And if you ever need anything, please give us a ring at this phone number. We have beds that open and close. You can look at shelter-registry.com to see open beds in real time. And that is really important and different than any other type of platform. The government can also see if your shelter or house is full on shelterregistry.com. And that is also helpful. So that way nobody is taking calls or having people come when there's nothing that's available to move them into. Now, number 12, if you need more help with your business or shared housing, we are opening up our Facebook group to everyone. We really wanted to increase the communication and the investors who are able to talk with each other because shared housing is turning into a larger niche, and we want to encourage everyone to support one another. So please join our free Facebook group. That's, the Shared Housing Alliance. And if you like us on Facebook under Katie's House Foundation, you can see that we have that group again. So I just want you to know that if you need more support, we are here to support you, and other people are too. If you ever want to shoot over an email, you can shoot an email to support@katieshousefoundation.org, and someone from our team will get back to you as soon as they can. If it's specific to me, Kirsten, as the founder and CEO, you can say, hey, can Kirsten take a look at this? And of course, I'll try and do that for you. We do have paid consulting in 30-minute increments, and we limit how many people that we can give our undivided attention to because, like you're running a business as well. And just wanted you to know that when you're done with this, if you have any questions, please reach out. Let's jump into some of the stuff that we just covered right now. And so I want you to see these documents that are going to be inside of this class and in your document folder that we shared with you. This is just to remind you that once you get your tax identification number, please check out Chase Inc. just because we have an understanding that they do lend. We don't get any type of referral fee, at least not at this time, at time of recording. So we're just letting you know, this is a reminder. You're probably going to need between $10,000 to set up your house and furnishings, and then maybe up to $25,000 to pay for the $4,000 or $5,000 in insurance for the first year. And then also all these other miscellaneous business expenses that, having a business phone line, having a website. This is a legitimate nonprofit that you're setting up, hopefully, or LLC that you're setting up, hopefully, that you'll have for a long, long time to come, hopefully. Please follow these steps to success so that way we can hear your success story. Moving on to another reminder here. This is the American Express business credit cards. Just letting you know that's another opportunity if you need to apply for funding online. Normally, you can just go right online once you have your tax identification number. You are a nonprofit in most cases, and you'll go through that process. It might take about 5 or 10 minutes, and then normally instantly they'll tell you if your business qualifies for financing. Now, once you have that taken care of, it is important to set up your logo, and Canva is what I would suggest if you want to set up a logo. You don't need to pay hundreds of dollars. In fact, Canva is free for nonprofits who are approved as a 501c3. And this is super easy. You just go right on and you put in nonprofit logo, and it's probably going to give you some really beautiful option to choose from and modify. I hope that it's still free by the time that you guys get your business set up. And you can do all kinds of stuff in Canva, just so you guys know. It's an amazing tool. Moving on to some of the other things that you need to know about GoDaddy.com. This is where you would go to request the domain that you want. So normally what you want to do is talk with your attorney about the state that you want to operate in based on how many directors and officers you have or that are needed. And so some states will require more people to be involved in your company than what you might have available. And that's why I say talk to them about what is necessary, because you need to keep your business separate from your personal normally. And then you're going to want to pick a name that's meaningful to you. And then you're going to want to come on here and see if that .com or .org, probably a .org if it's a nonprofit, is available. Once you get it, you can get a business email and some other types of things if you would like to do that. Now, this actually says at the top to use, with G Suite or Office 365. So those are maybe just some email hosting companies that you want to consider if you also want to have a place to keep documents or other types of things. Again, this comes back to information security and making sure that what you guys are doing is just secure, because you will get asked, or at least in a grant, it might get brought up and you're just going to have to testify and certify that you guys, maybe have some security. And Office 365, my understanding, is one of the safer options. And if you are a registered nonprofit, my understanding is at this time that you can have 10 users for free for a certain amount of time instead of paying $10 per person for your operation per month. That could be very cost saving, a lot of cost savings there, hundreds of dollars per month or per year. And if you guys need an IT director, my husband has his own company and he can do that remotely all over the world. So we have a lot of vendors available to us at Katie's House Foundation that we're happy to share with you guys. Now, with regard to having a business phone line, this is Grasshopper, which I had previously mentioned. And you just go right in, pick a phone number, attach it to your cell phone, and set up the times that you want to have that forward to your cell phone. And then you download the app so that way you can get text messages. And this is the number that you're going to want to put on everything, on all your websites and all your documents. So keep that in mind. You will need to record out a different voicemail for Grasshopper. And also you could do like a forwarding, and I think it's 5 extensions is what you can have. So if you do have a couple people and nobody wants to give out their cell phone, this is great for that. Your website, keep in mind that Katie's House Foundation is willing to share our code for our nonprofit website in Alabama. And this has already been set up with a housing application. It ties into shelter registry, we would have to take this off about the shared housing class, but it has a donate button, has the pay online, so your residents can pay online. And, a lot of these things, you're frequently asked questions, you might have to write yourself, but you can certainly pull from what we have already done, all the content and the structuring that we have done. And then you can put in photos of your own and your own logos, your own bios, your own mission and vision and capability statements. So what are you capable of doing? And our job here is to make sure that we have many houses available throughout the United States to reduce homelessness and other vulnerable populations. And we do that through you. So thank you for taking this class and utilizing some of the things that we have available in order to speed up your process and help more people. So here we go, moving on to, let's jump into some documents actually. So we want to talk about getting a house manager. And in order to get a house manager, you would essentially want to start posting for that in a Facebook group specific to your population, that you're looking for someone to move into one of your houses and be a house manager. You can also post that on Craigslist. And so we will put this in your documents. And this is what we have utilized. You'll need to modify it to your liking. We do modify these pretty regularly based on the response. And how this is set up is we just ask if they need a private room, and we put it under private room in Craigslist or on Facebook. And then we exchange a furnished private room or space. So that might be a converted dining room, and utilities valued at however much it might be in that area, in exchange for that person to be on call to the company and then to the people living in the house for about 10 hours per week or as needed while they live there. And it's good to let everyone know what kind of house it is and who the population is, and then what you're looking for this individual. So if they're going to be driving on behalf of your company for any reason, then keep in mind the non-owned auto insurance coverage, which is relative to the social services insurance. And just think about what you want this person to do for you in your operation, especially if you have houses in different states. That would be really helpful that you have someone living there and you're trading them a converted dining space. So it's worth it to have 8 beds filled up and have a pulse inside the house where you otherwise might not have. If you're dealing with high risk individuals, someone has to be there to welcome them into the house. Your licensed property manager can also welcome them into the house and show them, here's your bed, here's the washer and dryer, here's your key or your PIN code to the front door and the security system. But once your property manager leaves, if that person is recovering from drugs and alcohol, they might be inclined to go get drugs and alcohol and bring them back to your house. If you're dealing with 60-year-old individuals who have no history of drugs and alcohol, they might not be. So pick your population and staff accordingly. Pick your level of care. So do look at the National Alliance of Recovery Residences levels of care and the Oxford Housing. It's just really good to know those levels. A few tips on this that I want to let you know. If you decide to pay the person, they probably will ask you for more money at some point. And if you decide to let someone in who is less than 1 year sober, they might find it difficult to maintain their sobriety in a high stress situation with other people who are trying to stay sober. So keep those things in mind and try not to overwhelm them with a lot of things to do unless you want to pay them accordingly and also turn it into a full-time job, because this person, they are going to need a reprieve and probably need a backup, which might be you if they go on vacation or get sick, or it might be an assistant house president who moves in and, doesn't mind getting the mail if they have a cold or a flu or they're traveling. Looking at the house manager's responsibilities, this is how we go over it when we bring someone on. In the past, we have let them know that this is a paid volunteer position and they're a volunteer. So they're a resident and they live there and they may or may not subscribe to the same number of meetings or house rules, depending on where they're at in their own life. And they might not live there, right? They might live outside and just come in to help for 8 hours a day. But we want to let them know that it's a volunteer position. It's not an employee position. And if they would like to leave the volunteer role, they can certainly do that, in which case we would have to find another volunteer. And they would have to start paying for their house if they're not going to work that position. And that, they normally want to continue working the position as long as they can handle the things that are being requested of them and still have a nice life themselves. We want them to just generally set a good example, and it's really good if they're willing to be a volunteer for 1 year or even 6 months, and if they communicate when they're going to travel. I will tell you, they normally don't like to do a time card, and if you are paying them, you're not going to know what you're getting. You're not going to know for sure that you're getting your money's worth, because the person is probably working outside the house and doing other things, which is entirely fine. It'll just be hard to know between if they're living there or working, which is why we currently go about it this way. Now, the responsibilities are here. This is more for sober living. So there you have that information in your packet. And then moving on to getting residents to come in. I wanted to actually show you this one here, which is you can go on your Facebook groups. Again, those are just really nice to have because they're specialized to veterans or sober living in your area. And you can post in there whatever it is that you have available. Sometimes less is more because everyone is so busy. And you can say that you're looking for a house manager in exchange for the room and utilities. And you would want to check out their background the same as you would do a resident probably, except for you would want to do a little bit more because if they're a volunteer, you know that your social services insurance is probably addressing the fact that your volunteers who are working with at-risk population have some kind of formal background check on file. This can also be used to advertise for someone who you would like to live there, who's a private payer. That private payer might actually be living in a hospital right now, and they might have a social worker at the hospital. And a lot of times if you post on Craigslist or in Facebook, they will go to their social worker and say, can you help me pay for this for the first month? Coming back around to the Craigslist ad, which goes into the rooms and the sublets. This is a template that you can modify. And you'll notice here, because it's for Craigslist, it says equal housing opportunity. It's not going to discriminate because your intention is never to discriminate. Although, or I should say, you never want to discriminate, and yet you're offering a house for just men or just women or just veterans, in which case that can come off discriminatory against the others, right? And you will likely get flagged pretty quick on Craigslist and Google and not on Facebook and of course not on shelterregistry.com because those are specific to those populations that you are soliciting to. So I just really am trying to make that clear that if you modify this, which you should modify it, keep it equal housing opportunity. And you can put in here what your weekly is and your monthly rate. And it's probably more expensive if it's for sober living because you probably have somebody living inside the house and you're giving up a room, or you're having to just deal with, additional things that you might not have done before, like buying breathalyzers and your urine test, things of that nature. Here is another advertisement that was on Facebook, and you can see it's very short. And just so you know, a 7-8 recovery house is a halfway house. And this speaks to sober males, very specific to a population. The final two things that I want to show you during this final class are a quick purchase and sale agreement. You can look this over with your real estate agent or your attorney and decide if it's something that you want to use. Make sure that it works for your state and that each one of these items is written to your liking. And this will be with your documents, so you do have something. And what I like about this one is that it does have an assignment and novation clause. So I think this is really great as a reminder to go and purchase more real estate if that is something that works for you financially in the current market. This is the final item that I want to share with everyone today, and it is shelter-registry.com. Once you have completed this course and you have set up your first house, regardless of who that population is intended for, please come over to shelter-registry.com and sign up, validate your email, log in, and list each one of your locations. Each location is undisclosed unless you would like to share it. And you can see here that you can list pretty much any kind of shelter. So that way a social services person, meaning a social worker, a judge, a police officer, or anyone within the continuum of care, even you and I collectively, we can come here and we can refer people to each other. More importantly, though, the individuals, the end users, can come here and they can search and apply by looking for their level of care and looking for a house that accommodates that gender, age, the money that they have or don't have, and the length of stay that they are looking for. And this is really important for people because they might be looking for a drug court, a house that takes drug court funding. And if that is your house, they will very easily be able to see your house and look at your house rules if you have them here, look at your intake instructions, and they can look at all kinds of information that you input and see when was the last time this was updated by you or your property manager and how many vacancies there are, your intake method. And again, this is actually getting mapped by Google. You can use a local hospital or a park or somewhere else in the neighborhood if you don't want to disclose your information. Really important for public shelters, actually. Even though they're public, if every single shelter in the country were to list on here and they're full, then people would know not to go to that shelter. There's no sense in going and standing in line in a public shelter if they're full and you're not going to get a bed. The same thing goes for a halfway house or a shared house, roommate housing, etc. And that's why this is so important for everyone who has any type of a shelter, even a high-level detox facility or mental health facility. People that are within the continuum of care are going to move up and down, and they might need to leave one of our shared houses to go into a free shelter because they lose their job, or they might need to go into a higher level of care for support regarding detox. And we really are just so happy to share this website with you guys, and we hope that you will come here and put all of your locations. And then once you have your location, you can share your listing with everyone and anyone on social media, text, or email, and everyone can see that that particular house is, even though it doesn't have the address per se, it just has a nickname until you give out the address, but they can see that you are integrated with the continuum of care on that portion of your real estate portfolio. And when they look at your open beds, it's a lot easier for them to do business with you and to apply here and send over a photo of the person in their custody or of themselves. And then you can reach out, or your property manager can reach out to them and make sure that there is funding in place. So that way you can quickly intake that individual and fill up your house and then move your house to full and hopefully go and get another house. Thank you so much for taking these 12 hours of class, and we look forward to working with you. Be sure to head over to Facebook and join our free Facebook group, the Shared Housing Alliance. You can also like our Facebook page, and that's Katie's House Foundation, based in Alabama. And then also head over to YouTube, and our handle is at Katie's House Foundation. The channel name is currently Make Money with Katie's House, and we are running 10-minute segments for people in this space, for real estate investors, almost every single week, so we can continue the conversation and continue the education that way. Thank you again. Please reach out, and we wish you loads and loads of success to help your community and build a legacy.